This is what I started with here. Two images that you see of Amber. These were taken at my sister's house. I was in a bit of a hurry, actually. We rolled out the original charcoal sketch on the dining room table. Lighting was directly from above. Shot these with just an average camera, nothing special. And the result, unfortunately, was not that great. I did not take a fantastic photograph. I'm just going to load that into GIMP here, and the first thing I'm going to show you is actually cropping it. I'm just going to use the crop tool here, and I'm going to use a fixed aspect ratio crop. I'm going to call that 16:9 because that's generally what I like to work on for the web. You notice the size of this image, 4200 by like 3200, something in that range. The end result will actually be 1920 by 1080, a high def wallpaper screen that I do. Once I set the aspect ratio, I can then start to position that. No matter how big I make this, it's always going to be 16:9. So I'm just going to make it a little bit like this, and then you notice the area that's sort of grayed out is the area that will be cut. I'm going to go in and I'm going to sort of reposition it a little bit. I'm doing this quickly because it's a video tutorial. I would spend obviously more time for the real piece here. Actually, you know what? That's not bad. I like that. Maybe just a slight bit larger. And then, oops, just gonna Control Z that. Try that over again. If you click on it, it will crop it directly. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to move it over to the right just slightly. That's good. A little bit down. Perfect. I single click in the middle and now it's cropped. Second thing I'm going to do is work on the levels, and how to get to the levels is by using the colors dialog. Click on the levels, and you'll notice that on the edges of the image itself there is some colors that aren't being utilized. So I'm going to darken that up a little bit. Make a little dark on that end and make the whites pop out a little bit more on this end, and then I'll click OK. You can use auto, and auto is not a bad idea to try that. I'm doing a manual job right here. So that brings the colors in a little bit more. The other tool that you can use for that is, of course, the curves tool, and you can add a little bit on the bottom end of the curves tool, and you can see how that darkens up a little bit on the top end, not much. And that will give the image a little bit of depth, almost too much there. I'll click OK to that. And what I want to do here is I want to take this image and I want to duplicate it, and then I'm going to take the copy of it and I'm going to desaturate the copy. So go colors, desaturate, and I'm going to test the three different options that we have here, luminosity and average. I think luminosity is probably the best. I'll click OK to that, and it desaturates it. And what I'm going to do is change its mode to overlay, and then that starts to give the image a little bit of depth here. Probably too much, so I can bring down the opacity just a touch here. The next thing I'm going to do is take the original image, click on that layer, and the original photograph that I took had sort of almost a brown effect, and I think that was a direct result of both the camera and the lighting that existed in that room. I don't like the brown effect. I want to get rid of that. It's not the look I'm after. So the way to do that is to go to colors, and there's a great extension here. It's called Black and White Film. You can download that from the GIMP website. I'm going to open that dialog. I like this setting here, the 200x EGFA, I think it's called. And it's a film type. And you click OK with that, and it basically mutes all the colors out and generates a complete black and white image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change from a black and white image to a pink or yeah, a pink image here. At first I start with pink and then it transitions into purple a little bit later. The way I do that is single click on the original background image, go to colors, and then go to an extension called color tint. And again, you can find this at GIMP.org. And I click color, and I'm going to click into the pink range there, almost sort of a purple. And I'm going to adjust the colors down to get it closer to a pink color with enough saturation in it to show through. I click OK on that, and then I click OK on the dialog itself, and it will give it a tint of pink. It looks a little bit washed out, so the way to solve for that is a couple of things. You can pull the screening down, but you lose some of the tint itself. You can then take this tint layer and you can duplicate it. That starts to bring that image out a bit more. It starts getting more and more washed, so you can take the background copy and give that a little more depth. Play around with that to get these digital effects to work out the way that you want. I think I worked with this quite a bit to get the exact combination of colors that I needed. If your image is looking too overblown, like this one here, too many whites in it, dominated by the dark colors, or I should say white colors here. A way to get around that is basically to take your desaturated layer, your overlay, make a copy of that, take the copy and remove the white in the copy. And you do that simply by going colors, color to alpha, and you notice this white color here now gets removed from the image and it shows as a transparency. So when you click OK, the result of that will be a much darker looking image, and you don't get that overblown sort of look with that. And it's starting to come together. If I duplicate this once more, the image is now starting to take on more depth, and that's the desired effect that I want to get. The next step that I'm going to do is run a filter called FIL. And FIL is found at under filters, and it's found under RSS, which is a weird sort of title. And it's FIL 1.6 that I'm going to be running. This is available at GIMP.org, and if you go to GIMP.org here, all of these scripts that I'm referring to are basically available at the plugin registry. So if you click on plugin registry, and then you can basically do a search here for any of them. FIL, click search, hopefully FIL will come up. And there it is. So actually there's a newer version out, 1.7, I'm using 1.6. So you can basically go to this, click on the filter itself, and then it tells you about the filter, as well as how to download and install it as well. And this is basically what I'm going to be using here. I'm going to go back to my image. One small disadvantage with FIL, while it's an amazing filter, it does have one drawback, is that you can't undo it. So if you're happy with the image you have, I recommend doing this small sort of piece here. Go edit, copy visible, and then go file, create, and create that from clipboard. We'll create a new GIMP image for you. The layers are gone, and that's okay because you want to work on this image itself. You don't really care so much about the previous layers. And then you go filters, and I go RSS, and I go FIL 1.6. And the dialog comes up. I can't remember exactly the settings that I used for this. I'm going to try and work through it here. I think I used lomo. And I used simple on the grain. I didn't magnify the grain or anything like that. I enabled a vignette, and then border blur. I think I did ×1, and I believe that was about it. I clicked OK, and it will take a little bit to generate, so I'm going to pause this and come back when it's done. The FIL command has now completed, and you'll notice that there is a slight blur on the edge of the image, and it's darker on the edges, lighter on the inside. And that's more or less the desired look that I was after. My original was slightly different, but that's okay. This is just a tutorial here. You can play with all of these settings of the filters to get the desired look that you're after. Next step I'm going to do is run a couple of interesting filters that I really love. They're in the FX Foundry. Again, you can get this from going to GIMP.org. Two that I like in particular under Photo is Make Wonderful. Actually, I should say there's a ton of incredible filters that are available here. You got to check out all of them. I use the default settings for Make Wonderful. Click OK, and it's going to run through this and create a very interesting image. You notice that looks completely and totally blown out. The beautiful part about this, of using GIMP and how this filter was left, is that you can tone this down. So you can take the addition command and you can bring this down so it doesn't look entirely blown out as it did in my example here. You can then take this particular layer, the base layer, and you can go to the FX Foundry and you can go Light and Shadow. You can go Gothic Glow, and that's what I used as well. So I'm going to click on that and click OK, just using the default settings. Again, it's going to have sort of a blown out look in the middle of the image here as it shows. And that's kind of the look that I was looking for. Again, you can tone these down as well. Just click on the layer itself and bring the opacity down ever so slightly. That's looking good the way I want it. Click on that one, the multiply layer. Bring that down to about 50% as well, maybe a little higher, a little more depth, and that basically more or less concludes the base image component of this piece. The next two steps I'm going to show you bring in the amber calligraphy and then the amber circular calligraphy.